What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon, and I'm back at you another one. And this one is Asked and Answered, where we take one question from who you and answer that question. And joining me this week is my co-host, my partner in crime, from the Lady in the Dime podcast, the beautiful Elamar. How are you?
I'm perfect. I say it every time, but this is so true. Like whenever we're streaming, whenever you have people on, isn't it just the best day? I think
It
so.
is, especially
Yeah.
when you are with me. It's the best day without a shadow of a doubt.
Always a pleasure being here.
All right, so the question that we are answering today is, was Jon Snow justified for killing Daenerys Targaryen? I know a lot of people are fans of these characters, right? So
Yeah.
we're not just going to look at this as a fan perspective of what we think as a fan of each character should do. We're going to actually look at what the events led up to this situation and truly was he right for doing this when it all was all said and done. And I think that what people don't realize is what Jon Snow actually knew. That's what we're going to focus on from Jon Snow's perspective. You know, there's a lot of things that we knew that we seen Daenerys do over the years in the story from the show, but Jon never seen a lot of those things. We're just going to go based on what Jon knew, so that would be fair, because I don't think it's unfair to judge her from everything that she's done over all the years. Do you agree, Elmo?
Looking at the perspective of time, we have a long span, like what, 7+ years, depending on how you look at the book or the show. There's a lot of years, but again, she was a child back then, so we got to decide if we're going to look at from the moment, she was conscious of what's going on, or just kind of the latest events.
Exactly. So here we go. We're going to take it from what Jon Snow knew. Now, when Jon Snow first meets Daenerys Targaryen, he meets her on Dragonstone.
You stand in the presence of Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen, rightful heir to the Iron Throne, rightful queen of the Andals and the First Men, protector of the Seven Kingdoms, the mother of dragons, the Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, the Unburnt, the breaker of chains.
And he goes down there and begs her, basically. I mean, basically, that's what he's doing, right? He's begging for Dragonglass to help him fight the White Walkers. That's what it is. And she does not believe in the White Walkers at this particular time, but she still allows him to make his case. And then she gives him a little ultimatum if she wants his help and everything else. Now, going from this perspective, how did you take the interaction between Jon Snow and Dany that first time that they met? Was it what you thought it would be?
That was for us, we've seen them, right? Like you said, we've seen them before, like her point of view, his point of view, and that was literally like the first time that they met. And for some reason I didn't catch it at first, like, I saw him, I saw her, and then like, wow, yeah, this is the first time they're actually together on the screen. It was kind of, I would say, I don't want to say cute, because it's like people rooting for, like, Dany and Jon, but they don't know each other. So why would you be like all cute about it? That was my first perspective. He was willing to beg, yes, and she is the queen, or she's the queen. She's the queen of everything. She was a little bit too snotty to him, I think, and he was too. I don't know. It was just odd. She had a lot of power, and he kind of was very subservient. And I didn't see Jon as being subservient before.
Yeah, I think you did see Jon in a little bit of role. Well, he's asking for something that she has, so he has no choice but to bend the knee a little bit more, because she has the upper hand in this situation. She has the dragons and she has the dragon glass, and it's him that wants something for her more than she wants something from him. But as we see, there's a little flirtation. Davos makes a comment, are they going to get together? This is the little ideals that we see that he's going to get together. And then Melisandre makes a little comment, and she's like, he's so small, and all that. So, it's just a little flirting and everything else. But then after we see this initial thing, we see Jon Snow go off in hopes to capture a White to bring it down to King's Landing to show Cersei and them that the White Walkers really exist. Now, when they go off to this battle, now this battle was not the greatest battle when they went off there. I mean, some parts were cool, but there were a lot of it that was bad. What did you think about the initial plan that Jon Snow and them had about going off to capture a White?
I'm thinking, she doesn't know him, so he has to prove something. I don't think she experienced a lot of magic per se. I mean, magic outside of what she's able to do. To her, it's natural. To her, it's something that I guess she thought that Targaryens maybe have power over, like, flame or like heat and all that. But he risks an awful lot. He goes out there and he risks his life, and people follow him in the north, follow him. So if you die, everything is like on the line right now. Like if he dies. But again, he has to do what he has to do. So maybe at that moment he didn't see any other choice but to go there. But seriously, there's so many people who I don't know, if you pledge your sword to, King in the North, you go out there and fight for him. If he would tell you, dude, I need you to go and get me that, undead thing, that White Walker or the Whites, I need you to get it for me, get more than 5 people or 10 people or whatever, maybe they would have gone and he didn't have to, risk his life. That was a big gamble. Big gamble.
It was a huge gamble, and I think that, that's somehow, she says that all these heroes, they always go out there and try to cause their own death and things like that. She puts that out there with him. And, if he knew her, and he knew what we seen, like if it was me and I was able to see everything from all them seasons, and she would have been like, I don't believe in the White Walkers. I'd have been like, girl, you walk through fire and burst dragons from stone, but you don't believe in the White Walkers? I mean, come on now. But yeah, he didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you can't give him that and say, hey, he should have said that line. He had no idea. We'll go by the perspective of Jon Snow in the situation. So he goes out there, he gets himself in some big trouble, and without a shadow of a doubt, him and his friends all are about to die until she risks her life after all of her people tell her not to go. Tyrion tells her not to go.
The most important person in the world can't fly off to the most dangerous place in the world.
Who else can?
No one. They knew the risk when they left. You can't win the throne if you're dead.
They all say forget about Jon Snow, but she risks her life anyway, and her dragon's life, which she loses one dragon at this time, to go save Jon Snow and all of his people. Now, we're not going to talk how all of a sudden she had the latest in fashion from the North. We're not going to talk about that, how that just popped up out of nowhere. But the bottom line is she did go out there. She saved him and lost one dragon in the process right there, right? All right, when this happened, did you expect Daenerys to go out there? Did you see this coming, Daenerys going out there and saving Jon?
It was kind of expected because, we're waiting. We were all waiting in a way. It was that Jon and Dany are going to be together. So there has to be something. Something has to happen there. So I did expect her to go and save him if need be, that, even though Tyrion was saying no, and she would still do it. I think she was really captivated by him. She didn't show it. She was, very much guarded and, didn't look like flirting. It looked like just a very, very civil conversations that she was having with him. But we knew that there's something there. They alluded to something. So yeah, why would you not go save somebody you really care about?
By Daenerys going up there and saving Jon Snow, she loses one of her dragons. Do you feel that it was worth it for her to lose that dragon to save Jon Snow's life?
That's a huge price to pay. And, we know how everything ended in the end. Well, for her, it wasn't the best ending at all because, she's dead. But losing a dragon at that moment, when you look at her perspective, I mean, she's dead at the end. So no, it wasn't good. I mean, she sacrificed so much for that cause. But when you think about just overall, was it good for everybody in general? Yeah, I mean, she saved them, which in turn, Jon and his other people who were there were able to save everybody else.
Yeah, she did it. So far right now, so what we got is that Daenerys meets with Jon Snow. She saves his life. loses one dragon, and gives him the dragon glass. That's where we're at. After that, they go down to King's Landing. They meet Cersei Lannister. Cersei, wants Jon to bend the knee to her. She says no because he's already done it to Daenerys, right? She puts up a big front after she sees the wight. Saying that she's going to help them, but reality, she's not going to help them. She wants them to kill each other and then wipe out whatever is left. That's her plan. Daenerys does show up there again, has Jon's back. What do you think about that dragon pit meeting? Was that done right?
Oh, that was, first of all, interesting entrance for her. Yes, those dragons, she did make an entrance. She was fashionably late. She usually, the most important person enters last, from what I always thought. So there she was. She had that last entrance. She entered. But yeah, Cersei noticed that, there are only 2 dragons. Why would she not have 3? So she saw how vulnerable possibly she could be. That was really interesting that she caught it, that Cersei caught it, that, there are 2 dragons, not 3. Why come there with everybody showing their full force and she only has 2? Like, what is the other one doing? Does it have like a day off or something? But the whole thing, it was interesting to see how everybody was trying to be very showing their power, I guess, to showing where where their loyalties are. And I was surprised at how Jon reacted. I was really surprised at his honesty.
Yeah, it was a good time for him to lie a little bit. He should have, but he wanted, this is Ned Stark, I guess, in him, not able to lie. But it's a perfect time for him to lie. He did not do that right. I thought Daenerys, again, she put herself at risk going to this place, and she did it for Jon once again. And this leads to them having the boat sex, right? What is known as boat sex. And then by the time they get done with that, they are now a couple. And then they head the next season to Winterfell, and they meet his family, and she goes on to help defend Winterfell and the whole North from all of the White Walkers. She goes through this whole big thing, and the whole meeting with Sansa and everyone else, it was a little rocky and all that with Daenerys, but you could see that Daenerys tried her best in the beginning to get along with them, and Daenerys is the queen, and Sansa is not. But Sansa tried to make it like she had more power in Winterfell than the queen did. And, Sansa tried to be gracious, but the true Sansa came out, just as Daenerys tried to be graceful. But at the end, the true Daenerys came out. Mm-hmm. How did you take this interaction?
That was an interesting one. 2 queens meeting. I mean, one queen in the north, and, that's the north. That's just a huge place. You don't conquer the north. The north decides if the north will be, if they will bend the knee. And Daenerys, I guess, a rightful queen according to herself, at least, too. Who's rightful, who's not. It was interesting. The cold looks, both of them. Then Dany, that sweet smile. There were so many memes going around, like, the sweet little smile, and then Sansa with that cold look as she was giving Jon, as she was embracing Jon to welcome him. That was heated in a way that it was boiling. It was cool, but I could see how it was boiling underneath all that pleasantry.
So Daenerys then helps Jon Snow defeat the White Walkers. Now, right after they defeat the White Walkers, Jon receives all this praise from the wildlings, and this troubles Daenerys at this particular time, who fears that the people in Westeros would prefer Jon to rule over them than her.
What kind of person climbs on a fucking dragon? A madman or a king?
And Jon is troubled by his blood relationship that he learned about by Daenerys, causing him to withdraw from the sexual intimacy that they pretty much had at that time. Jon assures Daenerys that he has no desire to take the Iron Throne, renouncing his claim for hers, but he insists he must be honest with his sisters about his true parentage,
Mm-hmm.
right? Jon tells Sansa and Arya, swearing them to secrecy, but we know Sansa. We know what's going to happen with her when she gets a type of secret. Sansa sees him as a preferable alternative over Daenerys and tells Tyrion. Tyrion then informs Varys, all right, who implores Jon to take the Iron Throne, but Jon refuses to betray Daenerys. So, after all that we have seen Daenerys do for Jon Snow, was it right at this particular time for Jon Snow to tell Sansa and Arya who he really was after she warned him and told him that if you tell the truth, this will cause a problem between us? Should Jon have told him or kept his mouth shut?
Oh, again, that whole Ned comes out, and there is time to be Ned, and there's time to not be Ned. And Daenerys, when you look at the facts, like you presented them here, Daenerys did everything for him. She did everything. She risked everything for him, and the only thing that he risked. He never risked anything for her. He risked stuff for his people, like things for his people. So I don't. He should have been just like, if you're with somebody, if you have this, understanding, this bond, he should not have said anything. I don't think so. Especially since he knew it's so important to her to keep this unity. They have one more battle, or they have more. They're not done. They're kind of done with one thing, but they're not done with the whole thing. So yeah, that was I personally would have felt really betrayed in that moment.
I agree. Definitely, I would have been, if I was Daenerys, I think she had the right to feel betrayed by Jon and Tyrion. Those two people, she definitely had the right to feel betrayed by. So after this, we see Missandei get a head chopped off. Jon then leads northern forces to help Daenerys claim the Iron Throne, like he said. They take King's Landing. The city surrenders. However, they claim, this is how it's worded by these people, they have made it so that they're saying that Daenerys was driven mad by her recent losses and betrayals. Daenerys burns the city. And while she's burning the city, it is said that she's killed hundreds of thousands of civilians. Now, it didn't look like hundreds of thousands of people to me, but that's what it's supposed to be. So we're going to go on what it's supposed to be. She supposedly killed hundreds of thousands of people, innocent civilians, all right? Now, afterwards, she declares war against the whole world after this. And as Tyrion is locked up and captured, right, then because he's going to be executed for betraying Daenerys, he convinces Jon Snow to take Daenerys' life, saying that she's a crazy mad woman. She will kill everybody. She will burn up everything. And Jon Snow, out of all the time he spent with this chick, everything he learned from her, slept with her, did all this stuff, decides to take Tyrion's advice, and then that's when he executes Daenerys. Before we get to that final question right there, what do you think about them saying that Daenerys was crazy? That's what they wanted it to be, but it didn't look like she went mad like the Mad King.
Oh my gosh. And this is it's easy to judge when you're just watching people, right? Oh yeah, she crazy. Everybody has a bad day. Everybody can have a bad week or month or sometimes even a year. And I think you mentioned that in your videos, and I know I completely agree with it. Just because a woman is having a very, very bad hair day, and it's just, she doesn't put her moisturizer on properly and doesn't, do all that stuff, it doesn't mean she's crazy. She's just tired. She just had enough for the day. To portray her as crazy, going mad, yeah, she might have been angry and upset. I don't think of it as crazy, though. I don't. And yes, she's been through a lot of things, a lot of betrayal. Yes, it will get to somebody. I don't see her as crazy, though. She might have snapped, might have been angry. That's not crazy.
No, I don't think that's crazy either. And as they said, she killed hundreds of thousands of innocent people. She might have. And if that's what they want to project it, and that's what they're saying, that it was supposed to be projected on the screen, even though it didn't look like hundreds of thousands of people. Maybe 1,000 looked like, maybe look at 1,000, but they're saying hundreds of thousands. We'll go with the hundreds of thousands of people. That's her big crime in the eyes of Jon Snow. That's all Jon Snow knows about it. Anything else, they don't know. So we have gone through the whole situation. We'll lay it right down for the line. Jon Snow goes and begs Daenerys for a dragon glass. She eventually gives him the dragon glass, then loses one of her dragons, going to help him save his life versus the Night King. She then goes down to King's Landing on his behest because this is his plan, meets with Cersei. Cersei then realizes that one dragon is gone, so she takes that as a sign of weakness from Daenerys. After she does that, she gives herself a body to Jon Snow on the way back. She goes up to the north for Jon Snow again to fight the Night King and tries to bend the knee a little bit to his family and get along with all the family and everything else there. She eventually helps Jon Snow defeat the Night King. After she helps Jon Snow defeat the Night King, she loses a lot of her people, but she loses Ser Jorah in the process, which means the most to her. But right after she helps Jon Snow defeat the Night King, all the people praise Jon Snow, and he sits back and takes all the praise like she did nothing, like her dragons had nothing to do with it. She sits back and she eats that. Jon Snow finds out who he is. He tells her. She asks him as a nice person, hey, will you just keep that to yourself? Because if you don't, something bad's going to happen. Jon Snow can't do that. His big mouth goes and spreads this to Sansa. Sansa tells Tyrion. Tyrion tells Varys. Leads to Varys' death because he tries to set up a coup over Daenerys. Now, why would he do that at this particular time? She didn't kill 100,000 people at this particular time, but yet they still tried to set up the coup behind her back to get Jon Snow on the Iron Throne, right? That doesn't work. She goes down to King's Landing. She gets sees her friend's head chopped off, burns up the city, burns down the city, kills 100,000 people. Tyrion then says, all right, now she's mad. She needs to die. From everything we just went through, and that's how it goes, was Jon Snow justified to kill Daenerys?
My answer is no. No. She did everything for him. Dying like this, no. If anything, if he wanted justice, actual justice, or people to decide, there should have been a trial. He got a trial for whatever, for killing her later, right? Or trial, whatever he got. He was in prison first. She didn't get that chance. She was killed by somebody she loves. It's tragic. It's tragic. She, like I said, she gave so much. He only asked. I don't know what else he gave her. I don't think he gave her much. He denied her, I think, even love. I don't think he loved her. He might have been just I don't know what he was.
Yeah, I think, you get he caught up in the moment, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And so he did not even give her love. It was quite sad.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you 100%. There is no way that she deserved to get killed by Jon Snow. Not after everything she did. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for her, Jon Snow would have been dead 20 times over. All right? Yeah. All she did was ask him for one thing. After all she did for him, everything she did, lost her dragon, saved the North, gave all the dragon glass, there would be no realm, no place to live in Westeros or beyond if it wasn't for what she sacrificed. And all she asked for him was to, hey, don't tell anybody who you are.
Yeah.
That's it. You went your whole life without knowing who you are, right?
Yeah.
Your whole life. So it was no big deal for all these years. But now all of a sudden, you have to tell your sisters. Your sisters didn't care who you were growing up. They didn't care the day before. They didn't care the minute before. But for some reason, you felt like you had no choice but to tell them exactly your heritage at this time. And exactly what happened, she said would happen, happened. Next, you take the word on someone who is on death row, right? Not that Tyrion was a free man and he had to, he felt this way. He was going to be killed. So the fact that he was going to be killed, he was trying to save his own life. The only way to save his life is for Daenerys to die.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you see this and say, wait a second, I'm just being used by this little imp so he cannot be killed? It just doesn't make any sense. I don't see it with just Jon Snow being justified for this whatsoever. I think it's disgusting. I think it was a really dumb ending. And I don't think it ends like that in the books. Let me thank you, LMR, for joining me on Asked and Answered. And please let the people know where they can find you.
Well, they can find me at, well, here. They can find me here. And maybe one day I'm going to go back to my channel, but right now kind of stuff is busy and extra busy. That's why I have not been, we have not been streaming as much, Tony and I, but hopefully things will pick up. My time will be freed more and we can go back to it because it's a lot of fun. So definitely I'm going to be, here.
That's right. If you need to find her, you can just find her right here. That's why Lena Don is right in the corner right there. You can see, because that's what happens. She's here with me. So if you want to find LMR, come to Teflon TV, subscribe to Teflon TV. And if you would like your question featured on Asked and Answered, please, all you have to do is put Asked and Answered in the comment section and leave your question. And we will pick one of your questions to be featured on Asked and Answered. And if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, please, spread this across the realm, and please subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace.
And stay sexy.